So, just going to give this a quick go with this new setup. So I've got a head strap on my head, obviously, hence the name, and I've got an iPhone strapped to that said head strap, and it's really heavy. Oh, there's a van there. It's really heavy, as you could probably guess, and I've got people looking at me funny because I have a camera strapped to my head, which is always very funny. I'm just going to go. You can all wait for me. Thank you, lovely, in the Peugeot. Right, so topic of discussion today: why is this Volvo, the V70, the P2 V70, the 2.4 litre P2 V70 to be precise, why is this just so, that's a gorgeous car, it's a lovely 5 Series. Why is this car just simply one of the best bang for buck cars you can get at the moment? So I've had this car since I purchased it back in, when did I buy it? April 2024, April 2024. It's towards the end of the year now. We'll keep going up actually. And I've taken this car all over the place. It's been with me to Wales. It's my daily runabout. I only have this car. It comes with me everywhere. I go to car meets. I go to my favourite place to get coffee, which is Talk, which is just outside of Warnham, and gets me there pretty comfortably, gets me there warm, gets me there safe. Doesn't get me there fast, stylish maybe, not fast. So, bit of spec on the car. What we got? We got a 5-cylinder Volvo. I forget what the engine code is. It's a B something. You can Google it. I'm not that geeky. And it's paired with a ASIN 5-speed automatic gearbox, which is this thing down here. Not to everyone's taste, I can understand that, but quite frankly, if you're buying a car this big, you should be buying an automatic. There's no reason for you to be buying the manual. I still feel like part of the reason these cars are so good and so comfortable is because they are automatic. The manuals are cool, don't get me wrong, I do like a more engaging feel of a manual, but I would rather have a manual in something like my previous car, for example. I had a Mazda MX-5, I had a 2.5, it was 2001, with the 1.6, fantastic little car, but it lost its charm. It wasn't a fun car to drive every day. A couple of my mates have got them. They drive them, spiritedly, sparingly. So they drive it at the weekends, or if they get some time off in the week, they'll drive it about in the week. And I think that's, as much as I don't like garaging cars, I don't think you should garage a car. I think you should drive a car. The MX-5 is kind of the car for that. But then again, I wouldn't say garage an MX-5 because there are more valuable cars you could be garaging than a sub $3,000 car that they made millions of. Either way, back to the Volvo. I've got a brown interior, as you can quite clearly see. It's a very lovely place to be. I've not driven many cars that I could just get in and sort of feel pretty much at home. Something that I don't like calling it an old person's front living room, but it sort of feels like my grandparents' front living room. It's a very warming place to be. It's somewhere that I can sort of get in and know I feel safe, whereas maybe some other people's families' front living rooms or grandparents' front living rooms, maybe they just smell and they weren't really a pleasant place to be, and you didn't really want to give them a hug either because they sort of smelled too. There's just not many things that I can point out particularly with this car that I dislike. I drive this every day. Every morning I wake up and I look forward to driving it, and every time I get home I look forward to driving it again. I'll try to drive this car as much as I can. If my friends say they want to go out, I opt to drive because I love showing people this car. I purchased it for £1,700, £1,700 from a gent in Kent. I drove down with my mate, I test drove it. I didn't even give it a proper test drive because it was sawn at the time, so I couldn't technically take it on the road. Lovely X-Type. Couldn't take it on the road, so we were just sort of driving around the industrial estate that his dad worked in. And I knew there and then that when I got in that car that this was going to be my car, and I wanted this car to be my daily runabout. Now, there are two big sort of lingering questions in the room: fuel economy and road tax. Road tax, we'll start with that because it's the one that hurts the most, and frankly the one I consider to be the biggest con. Road tax for this model of this year, of this Volvo, is £710. That's it, £710. There's not much I can really do about that. Back in whenever it was, the Labour government decided, let's add a strange tax on engine size for certain cars, and because of that there are a certain number of cars, funnily enough, within this form factor of the estate, or the shooting brake, whatever you want to call it, that suffer with this inflated tax. So the Saab 9.3s suffer with the same. If you buy the Touring 9.3s, it suffers with the same fate. If you purchase I think there's a couple of Beamers that also had the extortionate road tax. I think it's a bit unfair, but I mean, it is what it is. I justify it by working a couple of extra days here and there, or working some overtime, and that usually covers it. The second glaring issue is obviously it's a 2.4 litre petrol, and 2.4 litre petrols, specifically 5-cylinder 2.4 litre petrols, they like to drink fuel. I'd probably get about 300-ish miles out of a tank. I average about 23-ish miles to the gallon, and it really varies. If I do a long drive, for example, when I drove up to Wales, I averaged about 35-ish miles to the gallon. I think the most I've seen out of this car is 38. And I log it every time I fill up. There's an app that I use, I think it's called Road Trip, and I log my fuel in there. I'm pretty hot on that sort of stuff. Just sort of, I like numbers, and I like seeing those numbers, and I like reading those numbers, and then also crying at those numbers, because my car loves petrol so much. She loves it more than I do. But it doesn't turn me off the car. There's still something really nice about this car in particular. I don't know if it's where I grew up with Volvos. So my dad had a few Volvos. I knew friends that had Volvos. And it's every time I've gotten back in one, it's always just been such a lovely place to be. And I've tried to find justification in my ADHD riddled brain to purchase another car, because track record shows I don't keep cars longer for maybe 1 or 2 years. I've had 4 cars, this being my 4th. And I did contemplate getting rid of it a couple of weeks ago, only because I was sort of telling myself that, I need to move out next year, and road tax is this much money and fuel's this much money. But the more I think about it, I don't want to get rid of this car. That I can go out tomorrow and buy, just a boring old bland BMW estate, which, don't get me wrong, I like them. I like a BMW estate. They're also a very lovely place to be. But at the same time, they're everywhere. There's not many of these on the roads anymore. And if you do see them on the road, they're usually either the older variants, so they're the more boxy look, or B, they're the newer ones, or they're the cross-country ones, or they're just the big bloody SUVs. Which again, I've never. I suppose if I was to replace this car with anything, it would be the D5 of this exact same car, because I'd get better fuel, and 2, the XC90, which again has the D5, so it's the same diesel powertrain. It's the same. I think it's actually a Geartronic gearbox, but either way, I think it's a Ford gearbox, but it's still fine. It still does the job. It's going to be bumpy. As you can see, interior in this car, I've kept it fairly standard. I've kept everything and how I want it. That's not always there, that phone mount. And I've got a Sony head unit that I had in my my Mazda MX-5, and that's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto should I require it. Sound system in this car is phenomenal. It sounds really good. If you're playing, I usually put on, I'm sort of into a bit of everything really, but my go-to is usually something like Justice or something like that, and Justice sounds fantastic in this car. It's got a sub under my seat, although I don't have the Dolby Surround, which was an option on these cars. I have heard it. It does sound great, but it's not worth selling and finding one that has it. Options on my car include heated seats, sunroof, no parking sensors, which is a bit of a pain in the bum. That was scary. Bit of a pain in the bum. If that was my MX-5, I would have fucking bottomed out on that. That would have been horrendous. If we open it up a little bit on this bit of national speed limit road, it picks up speed relatively quickly. I call it the Saab effect, where the Saab 9.3s, they had better performance. Back down to 40. They had better performance from like 30 to 60. So if you needed to get over, or you need to get out of someone's way a little bit quicker, the while in motion performance, I don't know what you'd call it, that was always better. Whereas maybe off the line, this isn't super quick. It's front happy, obviously, because it's front wheel drive. And I have noticed it kick up a bit of a wheel spin from time to time if I'm not super duper careful. And it goes eventually, and it wants to keep going. When I've had it on straight bits of road, it's definitely fast, and it feels safe at higher speeds. Whereas something maybe like my MX-5 and my iGo sort of felt like a loose bag of change that was sort of rattling around, and I was scared. And it's a bit weird. I'm 25 and I have this. I'm not planning on having kids anytime soon with me and my partner. I have no real justification as to why I bought this car other than because I wanted it. The plus sides to that, though, is there's not many 25-year-olds buying Volvos or crashing them. So my insurance renewal for next year, as someone who has 5 years no claims, because I missed a year because I cancelled insurance on my MG when I had it. I've got 5 years no claims. I have 3 points because I'm bad and you shouldn't speed, and speeding's not cool. It came, I think my last year, I think I paid £897 or like £904 all in, and this year's renewal is looking at £493. So that's about a £300 saving so far, and I got the points this year, so I was quite shocked to see that my insurance didn't like stay the same, or maybe not drop as drastically. £300 extra to me is more justification for me to keep the car, because it just means that I have a cheaper expense. I mean, yeah, I'm paying up for it in the road tax side of things, but at the same time, I could go and buy a 318D tomorrow and pay £35 a year road tax, but then I have a 318D and I don't have this car. If I could have this car with the BMW road tax, I'd be happy, but I can't, so I won't. So I'm just going to keep it. I don't feel like there's a reason to get rid of this car. It's been all over the place with me. I've taken it to Wales and it did it painlessly. There was absolutely no issues. The only issues I've had with this car, filler neck split when I bought it, and it was smelling of fuel in the back of the car. Thought it was the fuel pump, wasn't the fuel pump, thank God. Sunroof broke, bought one from a breaker's yard, fit it on my driveway with a mate and a thing of beers. That was easy peasy. And the brake pressure sensor went, so my anti-skid service wasn't happy, and it kept coming up with a little error on the little computer down there. About £280 I think for the part. Got that fitted by a BMW specialist over in Charwood, and yeah, it's been absolutely faultless ever since. I've had no issues with this car. Gearbox is fairly responsive. I don't agree with people calling it a slush box. I don't think that's what it is. Engine's nippy, it's responsive, and although the fuel's bad, I love showing people this car. It's brown inside, it's brown out, well, it's purple outside, but it looks brown now because I cleaned it yesterday and it's already brown again. Yeah, there's not much I can say that's bad about this car. The only thing I can say is if you're a 25-ish year old bloke or woman for that matter, or anyone, doesn't really matter. If you're looking for a car that you want to feel safe in, that you want your family to feel safe in, and you want to know that you can get to A and B reliably without any problems whatsoever, go and buy a Volvo V70. There is no reason why you shouldn't. I would not let the extortionate road tax put you off. If you worry about fuel economy, to me that's more important than road tax. Fuel economy, yeah, it's not great in here, but if you're worried about fuel economy, just go buy the D5. The D5's bulletproof. The petrol's bulletproof. They're great. I mean, the only reason I went for the 2.4 over the 2.5T was running costs. Not because it would be too expensive to run, but because the 2.4 is a naturally aspirated lump, whereas the 2.5 turbo is a turbocharged lump, and that means I have one less thing to fix when it goes wrong. I also have less things in here, less techie bits to go wrong. I don't have the active suspension of the cross-country 70. I don't have the driving modes that you get up here and whatever on the other cars. My car is, I put it in drive, I put my foot down, it puts me in motion. It puts me in motion, not a mimosa. And I couldn't really ask for much more than that. I've like my MX-5, I got in it sometimes and I really thought, is it gonna get me to work? Is it gonna get me home? Am I gonna get to my girlfriend's house in one piece? I get in this and I have no worries. Doesn't matter where I take it, it just wants to go. And for that, the Volvo gets a big thumb of approval, and it gets a big approval from a lot of people who I've met and who also share that love of this car with me. It's fantastic. So, moral of this video is, go buy an old Volvo, don't buy a new one, don't buy any new cars, just go buy old ones. They're cheap, they're happy, they want to keep going. This has got 165,298 miles at the moment, and I think it could go for another 165,000 more, quite happily. It might need a gearbox rebuild, but that's $3 grand, still cheaper than a new car. That's the way I look at things. So yeah, I think that's going to be all for this. Hopefully my POV is actually a little bit better in this, and hopefully it actually isn't just headlining like the first take that I did. Yeah, and if this is of any interest and you want to see more things like this, let me know.